Alright, hi guys. Background change. Nothing fancy. I just didn't want to film in, the room. I just didn't want to film in front of the stores again. Switching it up. And because I don't really want to clean up, that room just quite yet. I'll probably do that, later tonight. But, alright. So, as you can see from the title, I am going to be talking about my experiences and just being a little person in general. At least my experiences. Because my experiences are not everyone's experience, obviously. I'm only one person, and I can only talk about my experience. So, if you see me looking over here, I have my notes, posted on my laptop, and it's, nothing fancy, obviously. But, I'm just gonna have, it's just a rough guide, so just to try to keep me on track. So, the first thing I have written down is, okay, so basically, I think, again, okay, let me back up just a little bit before I actually get started, but this video isn't about, it's not a woe to me, and, oh, my life is so terrible. It's gonna sound oh, I want pity and all that stuff. No. I don't want pity, I'm just, describing my experiences and, how I feel, because I don't really have anyone to talk to about this, because it's kind of like a weird, it's a unique experience, and not only, obviously there's other little people, there's dwarves, there's people with dwarfism in the world. I'm literally part of, it's not a community, it's a group, it's the LPA, Little People of America, and, in one of my older videos, I was, vlogging, or my attempts at vlogging my experience at, a Little People type deal, and, I mean, it was okay, it just wasn't, it wasn't, the event was fine, the video was, okay, for what I was doing. Alright, so, my everyday experience is, it's not bad, because obviously I'm just, me, I have my own thing going, but it gets tough at times, and it gets annoying at times. Mainly when I'm out working, and it's mainly when I'm working or I'm just out and about, which is why I don't go out much. I'm treated like a spectacle, not by normal people, but it's children or for some reason it's almost old, it's really old people. It's either children or old people. It's they've never seen a little person or a dwarf. I'm just gonna use a little person in place of dwarf because that's what I was raised and referred to as. It was never referred to as really anything else. But it's more I'm an object of oh my god, it's so amazing, I'm so amazing. And meanwhile, I'm just, walking around in a store, literally doing nothing, walking around in a store, stocking, if I'm at, work, I'm stocking shelves, or I'm, bussing tables, and it's, for me, it's just, an arbitrary thing, obviously, because I grew up, obviously, but, for everybody else, it's just, oh my god, this is an amazing moment, and we can't take our eyes off of, this person. We can't acknowledge him as a person. We can only acknowledge him as a sort of spectacle. like, to behold. Like, I mean, listen, when I'm in those moods where it's like, oh, like, I'm so great, like, I'm feeling myself, like, okay, great. Like, obviously, like, I already know I'm, me, but, like, just when I'm trying to do shit, like, just do normal, everyday, human shit, it's just like, okay, I can see you staring at me. I can, like, you're being creepy. And I get it. It's like little kids. It's mostly little kids because obviously adults aren't. They're going about their business, doing everyday shit. And it's just like these little kids like staring, and it's like, oh my god. Like they never really say anything. Like obviously you'll like wow. I'll hear kids like saying, oh my god, it's a little guy. Or, well, they're not saying, oh my god, but like, it's a little guy. Like, I understand this. I can hear you. Now, I can't say anything, obviously, because I'm literally fucking working. And the things I want to say will get me fucking fired. Like, the things I want to say are dehumanizing and or they're very straightforward and very direct. They're not like how you would talk to a child. They're not like, oh honey, like that's not very nice. Like, okay, you're kind of being creepy. Like, I don't know how to talk to kids, literally. I don't, because I don't like kids. And that's the reason why I don't like kids, is because most kids I'm up against, or, am around, are these, I call them children of the corn, because they're very creepy. Because they're just standing there staring, or they're like I don't make eye contact with them. Because I acknowledge that they're there, but I never acknowledge, like, for myself, but I never acknowledge their presence. Like, we already know you're standing there creepily, like, in the corner, like, red rum, like, I get it. Like, listen, I get that it's amazing. You've never seen a dwarf. You've never seen a little person before. But when it comes to every fucking day, like, this is just a regular experience for me. Like, it's not that amazing. I'm not that amazing. I'm literally doing the same shit an average sized person would do. I'm literally just doing the same shit. Like, there's no special way that I'm doing it. There's no, it's not, it's not that amazing. And obviously, people's kids can explain it away, be like, oh my god, they've never seen a little person before. They've never seen that. It's like, amazing to them. It's wonderment, I get it. But I'm a very cynical person, so it's really not. Like, I'm very earth-based. I'm very in this reality when I'm working. And actually, I'm on guard. Well, let's go into, like, my second point. Because when I'm working, I don't like going places. Like, I have 2 full days off. For the reason of, I don't like going places because it's so mentally and emotionally draining. Like, you can see it on my face. I was already drained at that point. And when I'm drained, like, my patience is gone, and I'm much more snappy with people. Like, with the people I work with, I'm much more snappy than I am usually. Because I'm always on guard when I'm out. One, because I don't trust people. I have trust issues, obviously. And 2, like, I have to keep myself in check from saying dumb shit or saying shit to these dumbasses walking around. Like, I already know. If, like, everybody have seen, like, you've seen my, like, I'm talking to friends and family now, like, basically, which is probably basically only who's watching, besides some strangers. But, like, you've seen the looks I give. You've seen the faces I make. I roll my eyes constantly. It's because of that. I get annoyed so easily because I'm so, like, I'm on guard for every little thing. Like, I'm on guard for myself, and I'm on guard, because I'm seeing out of the corner of my eyes, and I'm, like, going up to tables or going, like, just walking around stores. Like, are you kidding me? But then I'm the bad, well, okay, let's not go there. But that's why I don't like going places. It's not because I don't like going places with, friends and family. I just need a lot of time to recharge. Because I'm also an introvert. And when I'm on guard all day long, or basically all day long, I'm going to get drained. Because I have to stop myself from saying shit. And I've already said that multiple times. So let's move on. Alright, so my next 2 bullet points are like, kind of, you're not gonna notice, like, but I'll notice. But they go kind of hand in hand. And it's myself making jokes about it, my friends making jokes about it, and then strangers making jokes. And I don't know. I think when it comes to me, this is in my opinion. Like, I think it's okay. Like, for me and my friends, if we make the same jokes, like, I'll make the same joke over and over and over again. And my friends will make the same jokes over and over and over again. Like, we'll just keep going with the same joke. My wording it barely changes. Like, I'm forward to. Like, if they want me to do something, or if they know I can't do something, but then they'll make the joke because of my height that I can't, like, they're not making, like, fun. It's just an acknowledgement that, hey, like, there are limitations, and we can laugh at those limitations. Like, I can't fill the chip machine at work. Like, I can't do it, obviously. But you know what? I'm still gonna make jokes about it if one of the other people aren't around. Like, and, like, while, someone else is doing it for me. Like, and they, like, obviously in a sarcastic, like, I don't know what I'm going to call it. They're sarcastically saying, why can't you do it? Why? I gotta do it again because obviously, like, I can't do it. But we're working as a team, and then, like, say, and I'm usually the one to point out, I'm for too. Like, in my sarcastic, obviously there's a smile. Like, I'm not annoyed with it. I'm not annoyed with this situation because I'm used to the situation. Like, it's just, like, and I think it's because I think I make those, like, okay, I let my friends make those jokes. Like, I've never snapped at my friends. Well, no. I've never actually fully snapped at a friend for making the same jokes I make. Because, like, it's a limitation. Like, we've already dealt with this. I'm 23. Like, I can't change this shit. It's fucking dumb. But, like, and I'm not upset with them for making that, like, making jokes. Because we all have our limitations. We all have, our hang-ups. and things that we can't do. Is this lighting okay? I'm just noticing the lighting. Whatever, we're keeping going. But I think it's because I let it go because they treat me as a person. They treat me as an individual. Like, they're not treating me like a spectacle. They're actually respecting me as an individual. And I'm not just an amusement attraction. It's not just like I'm a circus animal performing. They actually treat me with some individuality. And they respect me as a person. Whereas, like, these creepy children out of the corner of my eye, like, trying to be all sneaky when they're, like, we can clearly see you. You're not sneaky at all. Like, we get it. Like, if you want to wave and, like, go back to run along to your parents, I know I'm jumping back to my first point, but if they run along to their parents, great, I'll wave back. I'm not that much of an asshole. I'm an asshole. But I'm not that much. I'll wave because, society dictates, like, that's a polite response to do. But just standing there, like, just like that's like, one, that's fucking creepy. I'm not waving at you. I'm not acknowledging your presence. Like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to stare back? Like, am I supposed to stop what I'm doing? Stare back, make direct eye contact, and then let the child decide what they're going to do, like if they're gonna wave or if they're just gonna. Most of the time, if I do acknowledge their presence, they're just gonna run to their parent, and then I'm gonna go back, and I'm just gonna be, very annoyed. Like, why the fuck are you looking at me? Like, I didn't acknowledge your presence. I didn't I didn't start this interaction. Like, why the fuck is, fucking mind your own fucking business. But, okay. Now, I want to go back to, strangers, strangers making, like, strangers as in, like, I've only had this, like, I think I've had this a couple of times in my adult life, where I've only had this, like, either, like, weird, like, it's not just, like, jokes, like, the same jokes that me and my friends would make, because I've had this before with, a coworker who didn't last long. She was a fucking bad worker, but she didn't last long. She quit. But she quit because nobody liked her as a worker. She didn't quit because I snapped on her. I snapped on her last day because she... Actually, I think it was the first time I met her. And then I snapped at her once because she made the same joke that someone else previously made. And I already know this person. And we have a familiarity, so, like, we're friends, so I know you're treating me, I know, like, we have an established history of making these jokes, but then I meet some new person, or I walk in the new person, like, I'm at work with a new person, and I'm treating them with a basic amount of respect as a coworker, like, they're new, so I'm not going to be, like, go in on them right away as, like, hey, we're friends, oh my god, we work together, we're now best friends. We, like, we're gonna make inside jokes and we're gonna do the same shit. No, we're not. Give it a grace period, let's get to know each other first. Then when I start making those jokes, in front, like, not in front of you, but, like, to acknowledge you, when I make those jokes, then you can reciprocate that same sentiment of, like, this is reality. And obviously this person was, like, she worked there. And I'm using she or pronouns, it doesn't fucking matter. If she watches this, who fucking cares? but she made that same joke, and I say, hey, maybe, start with some, like, I can't remember my response, but it was like, we already made this art joke before, find something original. Basically mocking her intelligence and her lack thereof intelligence or originality. Just parroting somebody else who already made this, like, not your place. Not your place yet, you gotta earn that shit. Like, And then she worked there, like, what, a month, maybe? I think a month. I don't know. Time doesn't exist. Time's a human construct. Don't come into my comments and be like, time exists. There's clocks for a reason. No. Our measurement of what we think time is, that exists. Time, it's a hard concept to understand. But we're not talking about that. And then there's, like, others. There's, like, at my first job, there's, been, like, there's, like, I'm okay, I'll describe the situation sort of how I remember it. So I was, like, I think I was throwing something away, like, behind the cashier's counter, and this creepy guy, this guy is, just standing there wanting to, like, engage in a, I think he wanted to engage in a conversation about, like, I don't know how he worded it, but it was just, like, something, like, really off color. And if it's, like, off color because I'm at work and, like, I don't know you, so you're randomly coming up to me, like, asking me a personal question. And it was like, it was kind of like that bully scene, like, you would have, like, a smaller guy, like, a smaller kid, and then you have the bigger kid, like, asking a question before they go in and, like, try to escalate something, and one, doesn't work with me. I'm not scared. Like, I'm gonna walk the fuck away. Like, I'm at my own job, so, like, I'm protected, and, like, I'm not going to engage in this conversation because I got shit to do. You're not as important as you think you are. Like arrogance doesn't go. Arrogance and your self-importance doesn't register with me. I don't care. You're not important to me. That didn't make any sense, but it just, like, the gall to think, or the arrogance to think that I would try to engage, stop what I'm doing, stop, working, to engage in a personal conversation with a complete fucking stranger, like, and then, think you're going to intimidate me. Like, I've already been through that shit. Like, I make jokes that I'm a psychopath, like, because of my past and what I, wanted to do in my past. Like, nothing's going to really intimidate me. Like, yeah, you're bigger, but it doesn't matter. Like, okay, you're fucking, what, 6'2", I'm 4'2", I have a perfect lineup of a great shot that's gonna lay you out. But I'm a nice person, so I'm not gonna lay you out in front of everybody and embarrass you. Like, plus I'm at work too, and that's assault. Because you haven't, you haven't physically done anything, so it's not self-defense yet. But, I don't know, like, when it comes to, like, I get it, and there are some friends who, like, now it's not, like, I would rather, like, move, like, for me personally, I would like to move to, like, a different level of jokes. Like, I don't want to just be stuck on this level of being, like, you're short, you look like a child, like, we already fucking know. Like, it's not funny. Like, you're not, like, when I, engage in, comedic banter with someone, I don't want it to be, like, the low-hanging fruit. That's not fun for me. I want to get somewhere up here. Like, I don't want to be down at this base level where we're only poking fun at the things that we can't change. Because I want to, like, I'll make fun of people's work ethics. Like, if they're a shitty worker or if they're lazy as fuck, that's what I'm gonna go for. Or if they're intelligent or their lack thereof intelligence, like, they can change that. All they have to do is do a little bit more research, increase their vocab, increase their, awareness, their self-awareness, their awareness of the world. That's it. That's, and then make, observational comedy. Like, I like observational comedy. It's not like, don't get me wrong, observational comedy, great. But if we're only going with, like, if I'm, like, talking with, like, let's say, okay, this happens a lot at work. Like, I'm not offended because, obviously, but it gets grating, and it's, like, when I'm, like, trying to talk to someone, and maybe we're having a comedic banter, or we're just having a nice conversation, and then someone will interject, which happens a lot. I'm not going to name names. I'm really not, because they don't, if, someone wants to tell them, like, fuck off, like, I'll tell them to fuck off. Like, no one else needs to do that. Like, but it's, someone will interject, like, making the same joke, oh, I look like a child. Like, what fucking child has a full mustache and a full fucking beard? You're never gonna see a fucking child like that. Don't give me this fucking bullshit of Benjamin Button. I don't fucking care. Like, it's not funny. Like, if you want to make jokes, it better be fucking funny. It better make me fucking laugh. Because it's fucking grating. Like, to keep hearing the same dumb shit all the fucking time. Like, we already know. You gotta move on. You have to go to an improv class. I've said this as a joke to somebody, like, attacking their intelligence, because that's fucking funny, and their creativity. Like, go to an improv class. I've told them to go to an improv class, as, like, a nice way of saying, this, like, your jokes are old and stale. Get something else. And he has, moved away from it a little bit, but then it kind of like, it's like a rubber band where it just snaps back. And just, like, the same shit. Like, and I don't think I've said anything recently to say, like, okay, like, this isn't funny. Like, maybe I do have to be straight, but then it's gonna, like, this is my hang-up, is where, like, if I say something, if I put up this boundary where, well, let's be honest, if it's about boundaries, I'm allowed to make boundaries when I want. Like, what might be funny today is stale tomorrow. Let this fucking asshole go. I can put up boundaries whenever I want. I think my hang-up is if I make a boundary with one person, and it's about this certain subject, like, I like to be fair and, like, if it's a boundary with one person, like, hey, like, move away, like, move on. This isn't funny, it's stale because you keep using the same material. Like, I use the same material too, obviously, as I stated before. Like, I've stated before that I used the same shitty joke. But I think it's, like, a little bit different when this person, like, I'm not talking about, like, when these certain, let's say people in general, because it's multiple people. When they say the same grating, like, it's their lackluster jokes, then it's just like, okay, well, you don't have any material left, so, like, do I tell them to, like, do I snap at them and be like, that's not fucking funny, like, try something else? Or am I, do I, tell everybody that I know, or at least everybody in that, vicinity that I know, and be like, hey, guess what? I don't want to make these jokes anymore, like, and then hold a boundary for myself and for other people, and hold a boundary around this certain subject, like, we can't make jokes about this limitation anymore, because it's not that I have a sensitivity to it. When it comes to my friends and me, I'm numb to it. Like, yes, someone can make a great joke, and it will be funny. I'll make the same joke. Like, I'm fucking 4'2". You're gonna have to do it. Like, but that's the joke. The premise of the joke is the acknowledgement of the limitation, because, like, why would I do that? Like, But it's then another, like veering off into, like, a different, like, territory where someone will make a joke, like a superiority joke, like, and I think that this is a little bit different, because this person is, younger than me, and I'm also in a position of power over them, because I'm a supervisor to them. But I'm still friends with them. I've been friends with them before I was a supervisor of them. Like, I'm now, like, an actual supervisor. So now it's like, they keep, like, I'm not gonna name names because I want to give specifics, but I don't want to, like, get this person in trouble with, because it's a family-oriented restaurant. Like, a lot of family, or, like, community family-centered, like, our interpersonal relationships are, kind of connected in that way. But they keep saying the same shit. Like, it's like, because I'm short, because I'm 4'2", or a little person, it's like, they'll say, I'm taller, so obviously, I can do a lot more things. Like, is that really true, though? And then I'll point out their limitation, like, as, like, a comeback, like a snappy comeback, but it doesn't really do anything. It's just back and forth of it, and it's old. It's kind of, it's worn out at this point, where it's not like, I get it, like, okay, well, you're taller, but you're not going to, like, it doesn't mean you're better. Like, maybe it's just my own pride that's being injured, or my pride of, like, I can obviously, like, it doesn't matter, I can still fucking fight. I can still fucking do shit, like, it doesn't matter. But it's more of the, like, oh, because you're short, what are you gonna fucking do? And obviously, this person has a bit of maturing to do, and has to learn that we all have our capabilities, but underestimating them is not going to do anything. It's kind of disrespectful. Like, it's not disrespectful in a way of making a joke. It's disrespectful as, you're assuming that I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, I can't do X because of my height. I can, like, have I ever physically fought someone? Not really. I've never actually, like, fisticuffs somebody. I haven't, like, hasn't been a thing. Have I, like, really injured somebody? Like, no. Because, one, like, I know my limitations, so, like, if I were to ever get into a serious fight, I would have to, like, if it's an actual fight for, like, my life, like, I'm gonna have to end them. I will have to actually injure them and I don't want to injure anybody. Like, that's not my thing. I don't really want to actually, like, hurt, like, physically injure anybody. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know. I just think it's, it's kind of like, it's, like, And I think I might have to actually, put up a boundary at least about this, or at least, confront them about that specific, like, underestimating me, because it's fucking dumb. And then, I don't know. Like, I don't want to cut them out of my life, or, like, only as a professional relationship. I still like this person. They're a nice person, but, like, they obviously have maturing to do, so I want to give them a chance to mature. But then there's also self-preservation as well. So maybe I do have to put at least a certain boundary up. I don't know, this is just me working through things. So maybe there is, like, a boundary that needs to be set there at least. Like, I'm fine with, well, no, because it's grading too. See, maybe I do have to just, because I've said it so many times to myself in this video, that these, like, voicing it now, like, hey, these jokes are old and stale, like, maybe, like, let's just move on, and maybe I do need to set a boundary. This is like therapy, but, like, actually therapy. But maybe I do have to put up a boundary. I don't know. Alright, let's move on, because I don't think I'm going to get anywhere. I'll probably just go on a loop if I keep going. But, okay. All these, okay. This is more identity, Okay, so being a little person, obviously, or being a person of, there's a community aspect around, being a little person, or being a dwarf. And I've already talked about the LPA. The LPA is basically a group. It's like an organization. It's not really, I don't know if it's not really a charity. But it's basically a networking type of deal, where it's a whole bunch of little people and their families, like, where it's kind of like a network. Like, I'm not really deep into it, and I think that even as a child, even as a child or a teenager, I'm not going to say young adult because I'm still a young adult, but even as a child and a teenager, I was never really drawn to, like, a community. I was never really drawn in by the community of the LPA. Do I have friends that are in the LPA? Yes. Am I a part of the LPA? On paper, yes. I think so. I think the fees got paid and all that shit. I don't know. Whatever. Like, I think on paper, but, like, as an individual, as someone, like, who, like, I don't feel really connected to that sort of community. I don't feel as, like, I belong, or I'm getting a lot of shit out of it. Like, I don't feel, like, emotionally attached to it. Like, if I stop paying my fees, or if I, I could definitely pull out of it and just stop paying my fees and say I don't want to, renew my membership to the LPA. And honestly, it wouldn't really change my emotional response. Like, I wouldn't, like, I have friends within the community, but, like, I'm not going, like, the only thing that would be, like, sort of, not a lot of things would change, because the only really big things that would change it within my life, or anything that would really change, is that I wouldn't really be on I wouldn't be on the mailing list to get their magazines or whatever, and I never read them anyways, so that wouldn't, the only thing would just be less paper mail to me. And then I wouldn't, I wouldn't be invited to the events. At least I'm pretty sure. At least I wouldn't be invited by the organization itself, and I wouldn't be notified. You know, like, hey, we're having a meetup. Like it's I'm making it sound small, but it's a lot bigger because it's like at the LPA is like all of America. It's like, you know, and there's like different chapters. Like there's chapter meetups. There's people in the region, like, you know, like in, let's say, Ohio and Michigan. There's those types of state meetups, like, you know, groups in those states would meet up. And then there's like LPA, where America, like, you know, or like as many of the people who can come can, you know, meet up, have like a, you know, like a 3-day, it's usually like 3 days, like a 3-day thing where we like hang out in a hotel, that we talk, like the adults go into, like, you know, things, and then they have kid things, and then like the most thing I'm connected to would be like the dances. Like you saw that in the vlog, that's like what I'm talking about. That would be, I wouldn't go to that anymore. Like that would be like an end. Like I wouldn't be invited to that. That's the only thing that I cared about. Like, but it was, you know, I wouldn't really, because I didn't really have a lot of friends in the LPA community. I wasn't really, you know, attached to anybody. Now, I think this year and maybe last year, like, I went alone. Obviously, it was me and my mom, but I, as a little person, went alone. And because I'm not, you know, in my age range, there's not many people that I'm talking to. Like, I don't have a lot of, you know, like, oh, like, you know, there's not a lot of people in my age range. They're either, you know, a few years older than me, like, let's say in their 30s. They're in their 30s, and then there's older people, so, like, 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And then there's the kids. So that's everybody teenage and younger. So that's, like, everybody else. And then there's just, you know, like, me, who's, you know, in their early 20s, or, like, late teens, early 20s, and then there's just, like, no one my age to really talk to. Now, do I get along with 30-year-olds? Obviously. Like, I get along, I would say, well, no, that's not true. I would say I get along at work with 30-year-olds and, 30-year-old, like, obviously, I don't think about our ages, but I know they're older than me, but, you know, like, on both sides, I'm close to people on both sides of that in my age. And I think it's because of my position in my job, because I can drink with the adults, but I also work with teenagers. So I do the same job as the teenagers, but then at the end of the job, I can sit with the adults, and if I wanted to, I can partake in a drink. Or I can just sit there, which most of the time I do just sit there, you know, like, and then we just, you know, we have, you know, conversations, and I'm involved with those conversations. I don't know. But, I don't know, I just don't really, I don't know, I just don't feel as if it's just, like, for me. Like, I get it, I get the group, I get the LPA, I get the organization, and I get what it does for people. Like, obviously, like, I'm not gonna say it's like, it's done so much, I met so many friends, I've done all this shit. Like, we flew around the world, it's been an amazing experience, and I could only experience because of this certain group. Like, not really. Like, yeah, I went to hotels out of state. I went to, like, if I wanted to, if I had the money, we could have gone to, like, we could have gone maybe out of out of the country, but of course it's the LPA, so most of it's going to fit in America. We're not gonna, like, so, like, it's not real, like, and I've met some good people from it, but I'm just not overly attached to them. Like, I don't know, like, I feel more of a kinship to average sized people. Maybe it's because I grew up in an average sized home where it's just me. I'm the only little person. And I get it. It can be isolating. For certain people, it can be very isolating. And to feel like this is the only thing about me, and this arbitrary thing. Listen, I'm not trying to be offensive, but I'm a little person. And for me, my dwarfism is an arbitrary thing. I'm not overly attached to that part of my identity. It's not something that is going to be like a core thing for me. Like, I'm more attached to being gay and being a queer person and being, I would say, a witch. I'm more attached to those two identities within me. Like, you know, those things I identify with. Those things I identify with closely. But for me, like, being a little person is just kind of an arbitrary thing. It's just something I live with. Like, obviously, anybody, like, a gay person can think, oh, just being gay is an arbitrary thing. And I've said that before, because I don't like getting involved in groups where it's only one of these things that are centered around. I get it. I get what it does. It gives people an out. It gives people, you know, a community. Like, you know, a community based around these things. But that's not all I'm looking for. I'm looking for, you know, a real human experience. And I get it. Like, I can have that with the LPA. But it's just not something that's drawn me in. Because it's just not... I think it's because there's not many people my age as well in it. So then we're not, like, relating on that same sort of mental level. I get mental and emotional level. It just... I don't know. And I think it might just be because I only grew up the only little person in my home. Because I'm an only child. Now, there were other little people, well, there was one other little person that lived down the street for a time being, you know. And, like, we were friends, but we were, like, more, like, school friends. Like, we didn't, like, really hang out outside of... Well, we didn't really hang out in school because he's a year younger than me. Listen, I might have my hang-ups with him, but, like, he's a nice guy. But I think he just got pulled in the wrong direction with, you know, some of the, you know, younger kids. And, you know, I think he should... If he found a better crew of people to be around, I think he would have a better, you know, he would have a better time. Are his friends, like, completely, like, just assholes and shit, you know? I don't know them, so I'm not going to, you know, speak on that. But, you know, from what I've heard from secondhand sources, it's you know, they're just not, you know... It kind of reminds you of me, where it's like, I have my school friends, and then I have, like, alone time at home. But for me, I'm an introvert, and I think he might be a little bit of an extrovert, where he enjoys having people around, because I've seen him at LPA community events, where he has his whole group of friends. They're, you know, they're little people, they're vibing, and they're having a grand old time, where I'm as, you know, just in the corner, like, sitting alone, and I do want to talk about this a little bit, but I'll probably put it in part 2. This might have to be a part 2 video. and a 2-part video. And, you know, he's having a great time, whereas I'm just being like, I will either bring it, like, in my teenage and, you know, adolescent, and as an adolescent and as, you know, a child when I was going to these events a lot more, I would bring friends, and my friends were average size. They were, you know, just, you know, they weren't dwarves, so, you know, maybe that made me an outsider, maybe that, you know, like, kind of like, oh, like, you're bringing someone from the outside in, but it's because, like, they were my friends. We didn't see each other as different, we saw each other as friends. We didn't see each other as, I need someone, like, I'm trying to break up this, you know, LPA thing to, you know, include more average sized people, because guess what? Like, not every like, this has to be in part 2, otherwise I'm gonna fucking go on a tangent, and this is gonna get fucking long. But I would bring friends, and that's kind of how I liked it. It was kind of, you know, great, because then we could do something together, and then like, everybody else can do other things. So it's not like, you know, I'm not completely alone. Because even at the LPA, like, I think, yeah, it was the last LPA thing. Like, I tried getting involved, but it was like, you know, I was just hanging out with adults. And they were doing adult stuff. They were running the shit. So, like, I was just hanging around with my mom and, you know, the other adults running the shit. I helped out a little bit, but it would just never, it wasn't emotionally fulfilling. I didn't get much out of it. Like, I didn't, like, get, like, oh, like, I met a new friend. It was really nice. I mean, I had a good conversation with, a past friend, you know, and we kind of reconnected a little bit. I would still, if she's watching, listen, hit me up. We can, like, let's go to Toledo. Let's fucking hang out. Let's do shit. But like, you know, when we're, you know, not doing adult shit. And, okay, so, I don't know. I think that's all I have for part 1. Part 2, I'm going to talk about more of my experience within the LPA. Like the LPA events. Like, I'm not going to trash talk it. I'm not going to talk shit about it. I'm just going to give my honest feelings or in my honest experiences, you know, and like how I felt, you know. So that'll be in part 2. And for anybody who's watching and has watched this far, thank you guys. But I will give my Ultra Tour, my part 2 of my Ultra Tour, probably next week will probably be up, because I have 2 things coming in the mail, which should be here, in a couple of days. I don't know. It could be here today, it could be here tomorrow, or another day, but I want to get that set up first. And then, you know, but part 2 should be coming up, you know. I'm going to film that after this. So, bye for now, and I'll see you guys in part 2.